Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us to a special International Petroleum Technology Conference live session. Today's session is the IPTC Sponsoring Society President's Panel. My name is Mike Gunningham. I'm one of the directors on the IPTC board, and my day job is I'm the Chief Production Technologist for SGS, and I will be chairing this session. The IPTC Sponsoring Society President's Panel, this is a special session that we do every year where the presidents of the IPTC's 4 sponsoring societies, so that's the Association of Petroleum Geologists, AAPG, we have European Association of Scientists and Engineers, EAGE, the Society of Expert Geophysicists, EAGE, and Society of Engineers, SPE. And all the 4 presidents are going to share their perspectives on what innovative technologies and industry trends are shaping the future of the energy landscape. And then we'll probably ask them other questions on top of that. Rick, not only are you president of AAPG, but you are also our first presenter. Right? And do you just want to kick off and introduce what you're going to talk about?
Sure. It's kind of looking a little bit into the future of 2021. All the societies are facing the same things, really. So it's more about looking down into 2021 and how it's going to impact all of us. On behalf of AAPG members and staff, I wish you a better year for 2021. I'm from Oklahoma, and each year we have major storms that rush across the Great Plains of North America. We sometimes call these perfect storms when all elements come together to produce a tremendous tornadic system. In 2020, the world experienced a perfect storm in the form of the COVID-19 pandemic and the related social and economic consequences. Our thoughts and prayers are continually with those who are sick from COVID-19, and especially those who have lost loved ones. In 2021, there seems to be some optimism tied to COVID-19 vaccines and herd immunity. Most likely the world will have a mixed economy this year. Governments will pivot from supporting workers who have lost their jobs to keeping companies from failing. Nevertheless, there is some sense that economies are recovering. As a result of the COVID-19 virus, most professional associations have lost their financial engines, which are the face-to-face conferences that provide revenue to pay for other programs. Since March of 2020, most of the face-to-face conferences have been canceled or postponed. As a result, AAPG and other societies have made major spending cuts to reduce cost. The result is an expansion of virtual programs, which are great at providing conduits for information worldwide. AAPG works closely with our sponsoring organizations and exhibitors to understand the marketplace and jobs. For 2021, it appears the oil and gas industry will continue to be in a state of consolidation and evolution. Focus will be on innovation, best practices, well efficiency, and cutting costs. Capital will be tight, even though oil prices are now over $50 a barrel. So how does this impact AAPG and our sister societies? Well, there's a lot of uncertainty, which is not good. Our hope is companies will recover in 2021. Many will be structured quite differently than before the COVID-19 crisis. With 2050 zero emission goals, it's very clear that companies are changing their culture to the sustainable development of petroleum resources and other forms of energy. For companies, this is a critical stop for a social license, continued investment, and to attract quality talent. Oil and gas will be needed well into the future, but companies will increase focus on the impact of climate change to energy needs. Banks and private equities, corporations will continue to expand investment into decarbonization. AAPG is actively developing and supporting the science of CCUS and is holding the first major North American CCUS conference virtually on March 23rd, 25th of this year. Personally, I am most concerned though about jobs for our members. AAPG is doing everything possible to help understand career opportunities. For example, AAPG is working with SPE on the Members in Transition program. Together, we have developed an excellent list of resources, webinars, and potential jobs and other activities. Many geologists and engineers will still be employed in oil and gas, but already companies are repurposing some of their employees to work on sustainable issues. One thing we know is it will be a leaner workforce, even when the petroleum industry rebounds, and will be more focused on technological enhancements and greener applications. Now, some companies will take this time to rebrand. AAPG is in that process, trying to understand what new products we need to provide to members as a sustainable development and emission science. We are also working to provide more opportunities through our diversity, equality, and inclusion programs. One thing I promise is AAPG will not abandon its roots. Sustainable oil and gas development will be needed for decades to come. AAPG already supports the environment and alternative energy through our Division of Environmental Science and our Energy Minerals Division, both established more than 25 years ago. So we've been working on this for some time. The reality is the world needs energy. Think about the amount of energy needed to develop, test, produce, transport, and distribute the COVID-19 vaccines. The cloud is now one of the top consumers of power. Energy will remove poverty from countries around the world. Conferences like IPTC provide a conduit for information on science and technology to develop both conventional and unconventional forms of energy. Our primary hope for 2021 is things get better and safer with more job opportunities. You may have heard it said that the best way to predict the future is to create it. Well, here is our opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Rick. Very insightful presentation. We're going to move on now, and we're going to move on to the European Association of Geoscientists and Engineers, EAGE. So that's a European view, and Everhard is going to talk through the next presentation. Thank you very much, Everhard.
Yes, thank you, Mike. Yes, I will talk a little bit about the future, how we see the situation post-COVID, and also I like to emphasize a little bit on how the world is going to look like for our young colleagues who are going to join the industry, hopefully. Hello, I hope you all are fine. Like many of us, COVID entered my household recently. Most of us got sick, and fortunately we all have recovered fine. For me, COVID is very real, and I hope COVID will stay away from you. The last 12 months have been turbulent for all of us, for our personal life, our professional life, and for EAGE. We had to deal with a pandemic, a collapse in the oil price, and also facing the emerging energy transition. Today is, however, a good moment to look a bit into the future. So first of all, I'd like to say a few words about the geoscientists, in particular the young geoscientists. The young geoscientists will have a longer and more challenging career than what we have had. Therefore, the young geoscientists will need a broad mindset and has to update their skills regularly. In addition, they are the first generation that has been brought up digitally. EAGE as an association is well suited to contribute to the needs of these scientists. EAGE offers a wide range of events and conferences, publications and educational courses. In addition, we provide a lot of networking opportunities. EAGE is also very well positioned for the future with regard to topics that we cover. EAGE is organized in two divisions, an oil and gas division and a near surface division. In addition, we have broadened our topic range in the last couple of years, and we cover now mining, geothermal, and other energy transition related topics such as CO2 sequestration and geotechnical topics. In summary, EAGE is ready for the post-COVID world. EAGE is an international organization that brings a European perspective to its activities. At EAGE, we think that the online events are here to stay, and we will combine them with in-person events if and when possible to organize them again. EAGE will continue to stay member-centric, as this is what our members want. The energy transition provides a unique opportunity for EAGE to expand its activities, and we think EAGE is very well prepared for this. However, the oil and gas industry will remain very important to EAGE in the long future.
Okay, thanks very much, Everhard. Very interesting points again, a lot to think about. So we're going to move on now to the Society of Exploration Geophysicists. We're going to have a look at maybe the seismic point of view from Maurice. Maurice, do you want to just kick off with a short message?
Yes, thank you, Mike. You know, basically the presentation is going to be addressing the geoscientists' evolution, moving forward, and facing the future.
I think it has become clear to everyone that we are, as an industry, at crossroads, triggered both by the current pandemic and low oil prices, as well as fundamental structural changes to the global energy sector with an increasing focus on decarbonization and the rise and growth of renewables. We will need to act and think in new ways. In addition to being more digital, more data-enabled, more innovative, we also have to be more integrated and more collaborative. These elements will all form the new geoscientists to be able to face the future. In the next 2 minutes, I will give you an update on the state of the industry. Well, unfortunately, exploration investments never recovered after the 2014 downturn, in which investment levels dropped by 75%, with exploration spend dropping almost 40% this year. That would place investments at close to a quarter of what they were in 2014. Oil and gas employment was reduced by 30% during the last downturn, and despite a slight recovery in 2019, it dropped an additional 20% in 2020, leaving us with just over half of the workforce from 2015 levels. This chart shows you the R&D spend by the top 5 geoscience contractors in our industry over the past decade. This public information is insightful. Over the past 9 years, 2.2 billion has been invested in creating, sustaining technology for our industry. However, since 2014, this investment had dropped by over 60% from its peak in 2013. Since 2013, no wonder the discoveries have dropped over 50% as a combined result of lower investment, fewer wells being drilled, lower success rates, and smaller discoveries, with exploration wells forecasted to drop over 45% in the next 2 years. Global discoveries are set to take another nosedive, forecasted at frankly unbelievable levels of 8 billion barrels per year, would be a 60-year low. This, compounded with the likely relinquishment of acreage and cancellation of development projects, will have an undeniable impact on future production levels. The numbers that I showed in my overview of the state of the industry are significant. In 6 years, a 75% reduction in global exploration spend, 50% reduction in people, 62% reduction in geoscience R&D investments, and as a result, a 64% reduction in global ability to discover new reserves. For our industry, a clear change in redefining the energy of the future in a realistic way, and as geoscientists focus on creativity and understanding and characterizing the subsurface, serious sustainability focus and investment, digital impact on efficiency and bottom line, in addition to encouraging the collaboration efforts between stakeholders and partners, including professional societies. Talking about the societies, SEG is amplifying and implementing its strategy for advancing geophysics in the years ahead by embracing 6 key strategic pillars: innovation, digitalization, preservation, collaboration, representation, and contribution. These pillars will serve to guide our society in how it engages stakeholders to power applied geosciences in pursuit of solutions to many of the world's greatest challenges. SEG's current program offerings, such as Evolve, SEAM, Geoscientists Without Borders, our annual meeting, and student chapters align with the SEG strategic pillars. However, it is not enough to merely say we're aligned and keep moving forward with the same offerings. We are looking at how we redefine our conferences, how we increase diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how we fill the gaps for professional developments in new ways. We are re-examining our relationships with partners, stakeholders, and clients, and we are taking a fresh look at humanitarian geoscientists and how we can amplify our role. We have developed a policy on climate change that emphasizes how geoscience can contribute to mitigation and how we are focused on how we engage in sustainable energy development through a comprehensive geophysical sustainability atlas. We are looking at opportunities to empower the industries and institutions we support, and with them work at the forefront of improving our world and help in saving lives. And finally, I would like to thank you for your attention and success in this new exciting world that needs your leadership and proactiveness, not only to survive, but thrive in facing the future.
Okay, thanks very much, Maurice. Very astute ideas. Definitely something to think about going forward. And our final presentation is from Tom, who heads up the Society of Petroleum Engineers, and he's got a slightly different point of view. Tom, you just want to say a couple of words before we see the video?
Yes, thank you very much, Mike. My approach to this presentation was really to talk about SPE's activities during the last year and then how we see the future. And I confess that a lot of it is my own perspectives, but also how I'm trying to align the staff and the board on, prioritizing member programs and certain kinds of activities. The virtual side of things is going to be with us for a long time, so we have to learn how to capitalize on that as well. And last but not least, I'm sure you were alluding to this, I have a very positive view of the employment outlook, certainly for the next generation of professionals, and maybe even for us, the older generation, we'll also see some increase in activity. I believe it'll happen in the next 12 to 18 months. And again, we are an essential industry, and it's only natural that we have a bit of a tough time through this, but as we emerge, the petroleum industry is going to be more than essential. It will be critical. So that's pretty much the message that I'm going to give, and hopefully I can relate that in my comments as well.
Good day to you all. My name is Tom Blasingame, and my day job is as a professor of petroleum engineering at Texas A&M University. By some unpredictable version of events in the universe, I was somehow selected as the 2021 SPE president. But you can rest assured that I am working myself almost to death in this role. Sincerely, it is a privilege of my career to serve you, the members of our energy industry. On behalf of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, I welcome you to the 2021 International Petroleum Technology Conference, or IPTC, held virtually this year. For those of you who are not aware, the IPTC is our main multi-society annual conference held alternatively in the Middle East or in Southeast Asia. For the SPE, the IPTC event is a major technical event, rivaling our own annual technical conference and exhibition, or ATCE, in terms of its size, scope, and technical content. It is a privilege for SPE members to contribute to and participate in this global event. As we go into 2021, we are challenged on many fronts, And realistically, 2021 will be much more difficult than 2020. Not in terms of the pandemic itself, but like after a natural disaster, we have to perform triage. In other words, what gets attention first? I'll give you a few of my thoughts. Technology. Technology is an enormous challenge. It is the single most important factor in our historical evolution, but given the circumstances, advances in material and product technologies will be delayed. First, because of the cost of development, and second, because of the cost of deployment. Conversely, intellectual technologies will be aggressively pursued, not just because these are less capital intensive, but more so because individuals and small organizations can quickly create and deploy intellectual technologies. Energy transition. I confess I'm trying to coin the phrase energy evolution for a variety of reasons, but mostly because evolution is a more appropriate phrase. The oil and gas industry must embrace and facilitate energy transition, and I would note that I've said this many times. To not do so renders our role to that of an old and possibly less relevant resource, when exactly the opposite is true. Petroleum and petroleum derivatives are used in food, clothing, medicine, housing, building, machinery, manufacturing, and of course as transportation, industrial, and residential fuels. To forsake an essential and abundant resource would be a mistake. Beyond 2021, everyone asks, what does the future energy industry look like? Well, in the short term, pretty much looks the same, but a lack of prioritized institutional investment puts oil and gas in jeopardy. And frankly, this puts at risk many regional economies as well as the global economy. Post-COVID-19. As an industry, we'll be significantly smaller in terms of people and hence intellectual capital, which means there will be considerably more stress and more work on those remaining. Employment may recover somewhat, but work from home and virtual collaboration/education are here to stay. For many, maybe for most in some instances. Next generation professionals. In short, 2021 employment market will remain tight, but will improve for entry-level talent and young professionals. There are many unfilled positions, and there's a lack of talent in certain roles. I believe we'll see significant employment improvement in late 2021 through 2022, accelerating in 2023 as demand grows, supply and production must increase. Entry-level and young professionals will be the primary beneficiaries of the coming increases in employment. As comment, next generation professionals, that is those under the age of 35, will dominate the demographics in the workforce. One-word description for 2021. As part of this panel, we were asked to give a one-word description for 2021 in the context of the petroleum industry. My word is opportunity. Opportunity in terms of engagement with the public to build local and regional collaboration. For the SPE, its sustainability programs are gaining traction quickly and building support at a grassroots level. Restarting the exploration and development activities reduced by COVID-19. One of my biggest fears is a supply pinch in the next 18 to 24 months. It's not a prediction, it's just intuition. Examining our energy mission as an industry and as a society, the energy industry in particular, oil and gas, did not falter in the least during the pandemic. We're an essential industry, and we need to recognize that we must better integrate with alternatives, utilities, transportation, manufacturing, etc., in order to ensure that continued access to abundant oil and gas remains. As I close, I'd like to mention the IPTC was supposed to be in Malaysia in 2021. Therefore, I will close with a Malaysian proverb that seems appropriate for our industry at this time. If you're too shy to ask, you may lose your way. We in the oil and gas industry can be forgiven for being a bit shy these days. With the pandemic and all it has entailed, with the economic stress of difficult to obtain capital, and with the political stress of ESG, that's environmental, social, and corporate governance, and other license to operate challenges, we in oil and gas might prefer to be quiet. For my role in the SPE, I stand differently. We must confront our challenges and embrace the present and evolving opportunities. What we do matters. And how we do it? Well, we must proactively engage with the public to create a partnership that shows that we are committed to a better environment, a better society, and a better tomorrow. On behalf of the SPE, I welcome you to this 2021 virtual IPTC.
All right, Tom, thank you very much. So as a group of mature young professionals that we have around the table, we're now ready to take some questions from everybody. And yes, let's have a look. Yes, so we've had questions come in from around the globe. The first one is from Nasia in Kuala Lumpur, where in theory we should have been holding the conference. And I'll ask a couple of the presidents to answer this one. So the first question's about what have been the key innovative technologies that are going to shape the future in our industry. So, Everhard, would you like to kick us off, please?
Yeah, so I think I can just highlight one thing, a little example. So we talk a lot in the last few years in the industry about this digitalization. In itself, it's a bit of a strange term because as a geophysicist, I've always been working digital, but it is about much more deeper integrated digital workflows and so on, and all kinds of aspects related to it. At EAGE, we've recently seen an example ourselves by this. So companies are now approaching us to data mine our digital library, and I'm sure the other societies are approaching a very similar way. And this is for me some interesting development. We're going to see much more of it. So companies they like to pay for access to our library, and then they extract information, little nibbits of information out of our library, and they pay us for this. And and then we return the money to our members in terms of services. So I'm very positive as a small example of what this digitalization can bring us, and we're going to see many more examples of this.
Okay. So, Rick, how would you like to follow that up? What's happening in AAPG land?
Well, similar things to what Everhard was talking about, but one thing I look at kind of a personal thing is over my career, there seems like every 5 years there's something really big is what I call it. I actually do a talk along those lines, and it seems like every half decade. I would say the really big item this last year was the AI, big data, and so on. I mean, the enhancements made in seismic with AI are just amazing, and so we see that continuing and getting stronger. Of course, looking into the next decade, there's no doubt looking at sustainability and the sustainable development of oil and gas is going to be there'll be some major technologies associated with that, and so we're excited about that future.
Terrific. Okay. Well, we now got another question now from the Middle East, from Abdullah in Dhahran, which is where the Saudi Arabia conference, the next IPTC, is going to be held next year. How is the energy transition going to change the oil and gas industry? And maybe we can start with Maurice, and then followed by Tom. Maurice.
Thank you, Mike. I think that's a very important question, and I think there is maybe some concerns within the oil and gas industry about the energy transition. But the way I look at it, that this is really an opportunity for the oil and gas producers to be proactive in being able to mitigate some of the side effects or some of what oil and gas need to work on in order to make this almost a perfect energy source. And this is through the mitigations of carbon solutions and reducing the carbon emissions. So I think it's a great opportunity for oil and gas, but need to be more proactive and also embracing the change in being able to to go to the next step.
Okay, thanks, Maurice. Tom, would you like to add your thoughts, please?
Yes, thank you, Mike. Everyone, this is one of those phrases that means something different to everyone who hears it. And I personally had been pushing for an energy engineering degree or an energy engineering program about 20 years ago. And I've mentioned before, it wasn't well received. Now we have this, as usual, thrust upon us, and we have to face the reality that we do have competitors in our energy domain. The simple truth of the matter is that all the energy that is being produced will be consumed by the population. And yes, the population will demand greener choices or lower carbon choices, and we're going to see a heavy emphasis on that going forward, especially from the investor community. But this is an opportunity like we've never had in our existence before. I think it's going to allow us to engage the public in how important what we do can be to society, how much we contribute, and how serious we are about being viewed as a stable and reliable partner, and one who is infinitely more environmentally conscious than the public may deem us right now. This is going to be a challenge, but it's something that we have to do. I'm asked a lot about, when do we start to deal with this? And I choose the word deal out of as a politically correct word. But my point is we're going to have to facilitate energy transit. We're the leading energy industry right now. The oil and gas provide approximately 55% of the global energy. You add coal in, of course, it'll be a lot more than that. And we have to understand that we have a responsibility to facilitate this transition. I won't go into my own perspectives and details, but I think we have an obligation and we have a responsibility to do this as effectively and as quickly as we can. We also have to recognize that we have a responsibility to produce 100 million barrels of oil a day, and it's not going to simply jump out of the ground and go into the tank. So we have to continue to explore, produce, and improve. And I'll stop there. So I think this is a really important subject, but it's something that we in the oil and gas sector can facilitate, if not lead.
So we've got a question here from Francois in Paris. And this will be for Maurice and Everhard. What do we need to do to be ready for the future? Fairly open question. Who wants to go first? Maurice?
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mike. I think it's related to opportunities, right? So and ability to face the future. I am a strong believer, and SEG is a strong believer of that. There is a very strong correlation between the digital transformation aspects and the understanding of the subsurface. So I think the more we're able to accelerate the knowledge in digitalization and ability to impact the quality and speed of understanding the subsurface and characterizing it, I think that's going to be an amazing opportunity moving forward. I think keeping the link between knowledge of subsurface and the digital transformation, so they are not separate. If you're able to understand much faster and be able to iterate in your knowledge about the subsurface because of digital going to give you this, machine learning and so on, you're going to have a much stronger knowledge of the subsurface. So then you're going to be able to impact the accuracy and also whatever you're looking for as energy. And I think that's, in my opinion, a key one. Doing this, you have to work in a collaborative environment. You have to change the way of working in a silo. You have to be open that we can work all together for that benefit, for that purpose. And there is no real reduce this, concept of being afraid of competition and so on. I think that's going to be key, to work in a collaborative way, to be able to speed up and accelerate the knowledge of the subsurface through all the tools that are available, including the digital tool.
Great.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Everhard, what else can we do?
Well, I think as a person, it's important that we stay healthy, particularly in this year. I think that's actually, I think, the most important thing, because if you're not, then all the rest doesn't work out either. So if I can offer a little professionally, if I can offer a little European perspective. So of course we have all the restrictions that make it very hard to, very difficult to interact with our colleagues, with our customers, our clients, and everybody, because we can't meet in person. So that's challenging. And at the same time, we see that we're coming out of a deep contraction in the oil business. And here in Europe, we certainly see that the energy transition is accelerating now. So just this week, the UK government awarded some licenses for some new giant offshore wind farms, and they were awarded to oil companies. So Total and BP got licenses to build giant wind farms. So this can be, or this is a bit confusing, I think, for people working in the oil industry. So because, well, what are we doing now? And I think we have to look and manage that. Of course, in a way, a bit what in line with Maurice already alluded. In the end, we are geoscientists, and that's what's driving us. And I'm sure we will find ways to use our knowledge. And we have to evaluate that. And as a person, as a professional, you have to be you have to adapt to the new situation if it occurs, even when it occurs.
Okay. Thanks. You must be psychic, Everhard, because Rachel from in New Orleans, she has a question on how has your society managed the COVID crisis, and can you give an example of at least one positive thing that your society has learned from COVID-19? And this one's going to Rick and Tom. Rick.
Well, certainly we have become a virtual society. I think I should be called the virtual president because I'm not doing any traveling at all right now. But so everyone's getting used to Zoom and all these other software. But I think the big positive thing is we found that we can do this and actually disseminate information worldwide at a scale we had not done in the past. I mean, we are having meetings, luncheons where we would normally have face-to-face, maybe 50 people. Now we're having luncheons virtually that we get up to 900 people signing on. So the ability for the societies to disseminate technology and science is greatly increased by this ability to get things out virtually and do a lot more along that realm. So we're looking forward to keeping that part of it, of course, no matter whether we can meet face to face or not. That's a very key a key discovery, I think, in that regard, that we can actually do it.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Tom?
I'd say that SP has a very similar history during the crisis as everyone else. Of course, we've gone virtual and we do everything virtually, like Rick and like Everhard and Maurice. I'm sure we don't travel much. It's been a tough year. Not that travel is important, but getting to see people face to face and having those relationships is important. I think one of the things that SPE has done is really managed itself financially well through this. We've certainly had our bumps and could have more depending on circumstances. But I think we've done extremely well, and I've congratulated the staff and the board for the decisions they've made. I personally would say, and I don't mean this to sound like an edict, because it's not. I think everyone who has a position of responsibility with their professional society realizes you don't have a lot of knobs to turn. But the one I've really been pushing for is new initiatives that capitalize on the things that we know our members want and need. They need things like data repositories. They need better access universally to essentially everything that's ever been written. I would comment, not that there's any credit due other than to the people who saw the need for this, that we did re-release our database recently, and it is much more efficient, much more effective. That's a so-called One Petro database. Some people might have a little complaint like I do that you put the clear button next to the go button, but you know, it's a phenomenal product. It gives a lot more information than it has historically, a lot better, a lot faster. I want more of that. I'd like to see some learning tools evolve from this. That's one of the, I guess, they said, what's a positive thing that we've learned is we've learned that we can do everything virtually. It's not optimal. It is at times frustrating. There are people who do not work well in this kind of environment, and we have to recognize and try to help them cope with that. But as a professional society, I think all four of us have learned to cope with that. We've learned to manage our resources, and most of all, we've learned to work in a virtual space. That's not to say that we don't want to get back to in-person meetings literally as fast as possible. We're all planning on Q2, Q3, 2021 events, and certainly for myself, I'm looking forward to that. But if I were to say going forward, you know, we know that a significant portion of our revenue stream will be from virtual content and archive content. So, you know, we're working very hard behind the scenes to manage that, make sure we're ready for it. And I'm sure the other societies are as well. So that would be the positive thing that we've learned from COVID-19. And again, we've really done well in managing our financial situation. From my perspective, we've done about as well as we could. So thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to mention that.
Right. Okay. Well, you bring on an interesting point. So can we have some brief answers now? What's your advice for students and young professionals? Any volunteers?
I'll make it easy on the other guys. I tell them, the students and young professionals, to take any job they can find, and that your first job won't be your last. So, you know, they need to understand that in this environment, employment's going to be very challenging. Managing your career is going to be very challenging. But as you know from my video, I believe much brighter days are ahead and things will pick up. But lessons learned from, you know, a challenging job stay with you for life. You know, he wanted short answers. I'll give it to you this way. I learned the most from the worst jobs I've had, including, you know, when I was in high school. So I'll give back to whoever wants to speak now.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
I would just say I agree with exactly what Tom said. I would give it very short. I mean, to me, when I talk to students, especially and young professionals that have lost their jobs, is that during your career, you'll have these ups and downs. And what I've always found is 3 words: evaluate, innovate, and act. And so anytime that I wanted to, you know, it was in a time when it was tough, these really helped me, and when things were good as well. But the main thing is to act. I mean, there's evaluate, innovate. It's amazing how many times people don't do the last one and they don't act. So do all 3.
Okay. Right. Thank you, Rick. So for Everhard and Maurice, we have a question from Veronica in Beijing. What are the societies doing about diversity, equality, and inclusion? Everhard?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So at EAGE we do we do monitor our diversity in the membership as much as we can. Although that is actually a bit more challenging in recent years with legislation. But we do monitor it, and we try to reflect our membership in committees and that kind of things, that it matches the diversity that we have in the association. that it matches it up to the higher levels. So that works reasonably well. We did change some other rules also with regards to be more inclusive for particular young mothers, professional young mothers. They struggled. There were some comments that they struggled a bit getting to our in-person meetings. Of course, now it's very different. But so we made some rule changes there and aim to make it easier for them. Yes, and then. In the last couple of months, I did speak to a number of our members about these issues, and they did nothing particular did point out, but that doesn't mean there is something. So we have to stay alert and aware of these issues because it certainly does exist.
Okay, Maurice.
Thank you, Mike. The topic is very important. SEG is a global organization, so we cover the whole world, and it's we did initiate several actions. One of them was training for unconscious bias training to the board and also to all the staff members, and we are rolling out that even more. Also, we have done an initial review of all the procedures, which resulted in adding an overarching preamp for statements for SEG, commitment to the equity and diversity and inclusion. And also, it's forming a standing, we call it JEDI, Justice, Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Committee that will receive and recommend changes to existing procedures involving evaluations, reviews, nominations, and other selection processes. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Right, we've got a little bit of time left, and I've got a couple of questions I'd like all of you to answer. So if you can sort of go into 30-second answer mode. Any thoughts on how the societies can collaborate together? Okay, well, that was a short answer, so thank you very much for that.
I can start if you like.
Go ahead, Maurice.
Okay. Like societies can definitely join forces to work together, especially on research initiatives. Understanding the value of each other more. Work and support that type of collaboration through some sort of incentives. Like grants or awards. We have the Geoscientists Without Border, which is a very important initiative that we have. We can work collaboratively there. And, many members of one society are likely also member in other societies. So more collaboration just to make sense that we have more in there. And also the connection of members, across disciplines, creates more opportunities. And I think the multidisciplinary nature of that is going to strengthen the geoscientists and the engineers. And we have programs like Evolve in SEG that talks about real world training in that manner. So, also the last point I would like to say is that also we're getting feedback from the industry that they're asking for more collaboration on events and meetings. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mike.
Right. Thank you.
So I can say something, Mike?
Yes, that would be nice.
Yes. So I like this IPTC platform. So this is a platform where we collaborate, that the four of us run together or own together. And we have a couple of other meetings in the international sphere where we that we do with one or more of the other societies. And I certainly see there is definitely it's a good space to collaborate, I think, in the international sphere. That's
Okay.
and yeah, in the future, a very different sort of topic, but that's just me coming my brain. It's very nice, all these digital tools and so on, but some of these software packages to run a digital library or so, or a online learning system, those are not cheap to run, and who knows, maybe that's one thing for the future.
Okay, very good. Rick, Tom?
Yeah, I'd just say that really simple. We trust and collaboration. I mean, we've been competitors to a lot of degrees, but we still have a lot of meetings we do together, like IPTC. And go back to the word opportunity that several the presidents used. This is a tremendous opportunity as we look at what I call energy integration. There's still going to be a lot of oil and gas, but as we move into alternate energy forms and so on, the opportunity to collaborate here and do, wonderful new science and technology is exciting, and that would be my my outlook.
Right. Thank you. And Tom?
I think I'll be uncharacteristically brief and just say that the four societies can't live without each other, and we have to collaborate. We have to not only look at where we have similar interests, but even where we have competitive interests, we need to make sure that we're not doing harm to those interests by competing. I want to make sure, that everybody understands as long as I have any influence, we're going to collaborate with whomever and wherever and however we can in the best interest of all of our members. I know that seems like a broad statement, but we have to remember that this comes back to what our members want and need, and also what our corporate sponsors and our events can generate. I think we're much better together. I think that we have tremendous potential to find areas, and it's been mentioned before, certainly in energy transition, but also in anything that has to do with geoscience and engineering, or those kinds of collaborative spaces. We don't have a choice. We have to collaborate. I'm much more focused on finding ways to never say no to collaboration. So I think I'll just stop there and say that, if anybody has anything to say, go ahead and Google my name. I'm not the football player in Minnesota, and I'm not the locomotive engineer in Idaho, and I'm not the dead cowboy. But if you want to talk collaboration, I'll always answer the phone or pick up the email. So thanks for that question. It's excellent. Good way to sort of come to an end.
Yeah, well, it's good you say that, Tom, because we've almost run out of time. So we've just got a couple of minutes, so that's 30 seconds each, for any final thoughts or messages to wrap up this session. And alphabetically, we'll start with Rick.
Okay, thanks. Me, it's all about energy, and the young people that are joining our societies. They're looking at energy in a very broad sense. I mean, look right now, just the cloud alone is is using some of the greatest energy of all the services around. Energy removes people out of poverty. Energy lifts all boats, so to say. And so I think that is, I think there's a bright future in that realm, and as the societies collaborate.
Okay, thanks. Everhard.
Yes. So I think the future for us geoscientists working in the oil and gas industry, I think it's there's still a very great future ahead of us. There's no reason to believe otherwise. Of course, we are very much under pressure now, but it will recover. And for those who choose a different path, I think there will be plenty of other geoscience and engineering type of jobs around. So I think you can still continue to do what's close to your heart.
Terrific. Thank you. Maurice.
Thank you, Mike. I like to say that for geoscientists, if you are a geoscientist which is very strong in the knowledge of the subsurface, you need to strengthen your digital knowledge. You need to learn new about machine learning and artificial intelligence and so on. You have to always to learn something new. And if you are very much into the digital side and you think that that's everything that you need to know because that's what everybody is talking about, I would say that you're wrong. You really need to understand the subsurface, the knowledge, and the wisdom from all the people that have that experience. The last point I would like to mention, which is extremely important in my mind, is that our challenge is not only just to continue to power the world, but also we have a responsibility on the sustainability side and saving the world. And that's big part of what we need to put our knowledge in doing that. And we need always to remember this, because that's going to be what also geoscience is going to be remembered with and our efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. And Tom.
It's probably having the kinds of parents I did, but I really believe that I don't know how many days left I have in my life, but I always believe that the best days are ahead of me. And I believe that for our industry. I believe that we have the best people. We have a very strong mission to serve society. We have fantastic technology. We have very innovative approach to things. Want to say, as we close, our best days are ahead of us. Some may be saying that I'm overly optimistic, but that 100 million barrels a day is not going to jump out of the ground. That's our job. And it isn't just about transportation fuels or other things that are viewed as being part of the problem. That'll probably be the first thing that gets transitioned. It's also about all the other things we provide: food, medicine, clothing, building materials, manufacturing, etc. We are an essential industry. We're not going to go away. And I believe with all that I have and all of my heart that, our best days are ahead of us. And I'll stop with that.
Great. Thank you very much. And thank you to all of you. Great speakers, very discerning remarks, lively discussion, optimistic outlook for the future. Remember that. I hope all of you out there have enjoyed the session. We also hope that you'll join us for the opportunity to explore more multidisciplinary content by attending IPTC 2021, which is going to be held virtually 23rd of March to the 1st of April 2021. So please register now at 2021.iptcnet.org. Thank you very much. Thank you, our speakers, our presidents. Relax, smile. All right, and we'll see you all in cyber safe. So thanks very much, everyone.